Autoimmune disease and thyroid dysfunction are systemic problems. They are not just isolated gland issues. And functional mushrooms don't force the thyroid to work. They nourish the environment, allowing your body to heal itself and work better from the root up.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Eversio Experience podcast. Today, we are going to talk to you about healing the terrain and how functional mushrooms can support thyroid health from the root. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform and you can't see us, you might want to choose to tune in and see us on YouTube, because today we are sharing a whole presentation with really detailed, beautiful slides and illustrations, really to help understand this complex topic that we're talking about today, which to me, I'm a visual learner, just makes so much more sense when we can see it. So if you're not looking at us, listen carefully, make your own mind movie. If you do choose to come on over to YouTube, enjoy the show. And with that, I am going to turn it right over to Dr. Des to get the party started and tell you all about how mushrooms and thyroid might have something to do with each other. Go ahead, Dr. Des.
Yeah, so the thyroid really you can think of as the center of the storm. There are millions of people who are exhausted, who are struggling with their weight, and who feel completely off. And at the center of these symptoms often is a struggling thyroid gland. So people might experience temperature sensitivity, chronic exhaustion, brain fog, unexplained weight gain. And you might be wondering, okay, well, first of all, what is the thyroid? Because it is not in your thigh. It's actually in your neck. Your thyroid is
We know people who thought that, so laugh if you will, but your thyroid is not in your thigh. Might just have shocked millions out there. It's not in your thigh.
It's not in your thigh. It is a small butterfly-shaped gland that is in your neck. And even though it is tiny, it really acts like your body's speed controller. So what it does is your thyroid makes hormones, which are basically chemical messages that tell your body how fast to burn energy, how fast your heart beats, how warm your body feels, how quickly things like digestion can happen. So you can think of it like a thermostat as well as a gas pedal for your body. Okay, how does it work? Well, the simple version is first, number one, your brain, specifically the pituitary gland in your brain, checks your body. Step two, if things are too slow, it'll tell your thyroid, make more hormones. Step three, if things are too fast, it'll say, slow down. So it is this constant feedback loop from your brain to your thyroid. And the main hormones involved are there's TSH, and that's often what is tested when you're getting lab work for your thyroid. But then there are also other hormones that are very important that tell you the full picture of your thyroid. So T4 being more of the storage hormone, so inactive, and T3 being more of the active hormone where it does the real work. And what your body does is it converts T4 into T3 when needed. So you might be wondering, okay, well, I have all of these symptoms that you mentioned earlier, and I suspect that there might be a thyroid issue going on. But oftentimes what happens, especially in the conventional world, is that TSH will be tested and TSH seems to be fine within a normal range. But that doesn't give us the entire picture of what is going on. So when things do go wrong, we can look at a thyroid as being too slow, or if you've heard the term hypothyroid, so hypo, everything really feels sluggish. You may feel tired all the time. You may feel like you have weight gain, that's stubborn weight. You might be very cold really easily. People could be in t-shirts and you are in a parka. You might feel brain fog, dry skin. It's almost like your body is stuck in slow motion. If your thyroid is too fast, this hyperthyroid picture, everything can speed up. So you might feel jittery, like you're more anxious and have anxiety. You may experience a faster heartbeat. You might notice that you are losing weight or you tend towards that and have difficulty gaining weight. You might find that you are sweating, you have trouble sleeping. So hyperthyroid individuals feel like their body is stuck on overdrive. So why does it matter so much? Well, the thyroid affects every cell in your body. So when it's off, you really feel it everywhere. Energy, mood, metabolism, hormones. And as we know, our body is not, all of the parts of our body and our human system, they're not separate. They are all connected. So you can think of your thyroid like the flame under a pot of soup, which the pot of soup is your body and it's this flame. If it's too low, everything is cold and slow. But if it's too high, everything is boiling and chaotic. But if it's just right, everything
Mm.
runs smoothly.
It's like Goldilocks.
Yeah.
We just want to be just right. We just need
Mhm.
that bowl of porridge to be just right.
Yeah.
And I love an analogy. So when I heard this one, the pot of soup, you're the pot of soup. How's your soup going? Is your soup too cold? Is your soup boiling over? And then that's a great time to start asking great questions. Thank you for explaining that, Dr. Des. I think so many people hear thyroid, and honestly, I'm about to turn 50. In my circle of friends, I more than half of my friends are taking a thyroid medication today. And I
Mhm.
never really thought about, why they needed that. And I'm somebody that comes from more of like an autoimmune picture was my health story. So there wasn't really a need for me to know a lot about it until I became a mushroom nerd. And that's why we're here today. But it wouldn't be me being me if I didn't comment on conventional medicine and what it's doing for people who are, and with no judgment, people are taking medications, pharmaceutical prescriptions for all of those things Dr. Des talked about for good reason, because you can imagine none of that feels good. And when we want to feel good, we often go to a doctor to get the answer. And doctors only have one answer for you. There's only one thing that our conventional medical system gives doctors as the tool, and that is going to be a pharmaceutical. And the problem with it is in this situation with thyroid issues, that conventional medicine just is refilling a leaky tank, right? The standard medical approach to thyroid issues is to prescribe synthetic hormones. So Dr. Des talked about those hormones, T4, T3, all of what the thyroid is trying to give the body to pass it along to the next system so that we can be in homeostasis or in balance. But when we give a synthetic hormone, it replaces what is missing, but it completely ignores why it is missing in the first place. And we know this, right? We are band-aiding something. So when you add the synthetic hormones into a bucket that is already overflowing the body, it's just dripping out the other end. It's like trying to bail water out of a boat, but you haven't fixed the hole in the boat. And you're going to keep having that same problem. So refilling the tank with hormones synthetically manages the symptoms, but it doesn't patch the hole. And that's the case with so many things. I also love the analogy of not painting sick leaves green. If you have a plant in your house and the plant isn't doing well, and this has been my house because I didn't always have a green thumb despite my last name being Garden. I married into that name and I'm much better now, but it didn't come naturally to me. And I've killed my fair share of plants in my day. But what I do know is that when the plants in my house were dying and starting to shrivel up and turn yellow and then go crusty brown, I did not take out a can of green spray paint and spray paint them back to health. I knew what the problem was. They were missing something at the root. There was something in their soil or in their environment that was not nourishing them. And that's why we're here today, because you don't paint sick leaves green, you fix the soil, and mushrooms do not force the thyroid to work. Instead, we know from research that mushrooms nourish the terrain, the overall biological environment of the body in so many ways, so that the system can regulate and heal itself. And I believe that if you've been listening here for a while, I believe we have everything we need to heal, and things like mushrooms and meditation can be our partners in that. So that's what this discussion is really going to be about today. It's if you're tired of painting sick leaves green or filling a bucket with a hole in it, we're going to offer you some other ideas and we're going to share the really great research. If nothing else, please stick around to hear about 2 studies we're going to share with you today that blew our minds. These are big numbers and are so hopeful, and not enough people know about it because our doctors aren't sharing it because it's not part of their curriculum when they're going through school. But luckily, we have a naturopathic doctor with us, and she does know a thing or two about the way we can heal ourselves when we bring nature into the picture. So I'll just kick it off for you, Dr. Des, and give a bit of a framework of the 3 areas we're going to discuss today. So Dr. Desiree told us that the thyroid is like the command center. And if you're having thyroid issues, then the command center is under siege, essentially. The thyroid regulates the body's energy, but it frequently breaks down under the stress of modern living. It always comes back to stress. And that breakdown is rarely a single failure. It is often the result of three specific overlapping systemic threats that standard treatments are just missing. So we're going to look at three things today: missing fuel, friendly fire, and an internal fire. And I'm going to let Dr. Des tell you first about this missing fuel piece because I think it's my favorite and I love the research on it. So Dr. Des, tell us what's happening if the problem is that we are just missing some fuel.
So missing fuel can be thought of as an inactive problem. So producing thyroid hormone just isn't enough. When the body makes these hormones, they start off asleep or inactive, so TSH, that triggers the production of T4. But if they stay asleep, your body can't use them for energy or metabolism. So, and what I mean by asleep is T4 being that asleep molecule. It can't be used by the body. It needs to be converted into T3, the active form. And when T4 is converted into T3, that's where it impacts that metabolism and energy. So it could be an activation problem, that conversion problem. And that's where I mentioned on lab work, when you get the full picture of TSH, T3, T4, you're really seeing where the issue is and at what point within that sequence it's occurring.
Yeah, I heard an analogy once that you can have all this T4 in your body, like you said, on a blood test, and it's all looking good. You're producing that. But I heard the analogy as money. So it's like you're making $100 bills. The T4 is your $100 bills, $100 bills. But what you want, energy, metabolism, is it's like it's in this vending machine that only takes, coins. And you only have $100 bills. So you have TH4, but you can't spend it. So we need a way to turn that T4 into coins. So let's talk about the next step.
Yeah. So then with missing fuel, there's also selenium, which is the essential helper. And mushrooms are naturally rich in selenium. So this crucial nutrient acts as a chemical helper, and it perfectly snaps off a piece of the sleeping hormone, which is T4, to wake it up and make it active. So step one, you have this inactive T4. Step two is the helper, being selenium, helps to activate the hormone. And then step three, the system is energized because now T4 went into T3, this awake and active form where it's able to exert the thyroid actions within the body.
When I read that, I was like, I love mushrooms. I've been studying mushrooms fairly in depth for over 5 years now, and I did not know that mushrooms were rich in selenium, but I love that I've been getting it. I've been getting it just because I eat them. We have mushrooms all of the time. What I do know is that I have friends who will eat Brazil nuts for selenium. And if you are someone that says, I'm never going to eat mushrooms, as I was doing this research, 2 Brazil nuts have, in one thing I read, over 600% of your daily needs of selenium. There's so many ways that we can get that selenium. You could take a supplement if that's what you're interested in, but it's in our food. It's in our food if our food was grown how food should be grown, right? If the precursors are there. So we're looking at mushrooms, it was shiitake mushrooms that were looked at to be one of the higher mushrooms in selenium. And shiitake mushrooms are delicious. We can get them. In our area, Costco sells organic certified shiitake mushrooms most of the year, and they're just fantastic. So knowing that we can eat something that is the key to go in the lock and get our T4 converted over to T3 so that it can become active, that's such a simple thing to do. But does it really work is the question. Does it really work? Can I just eat, can food be medicine? Was Hippocrates right all that time ago? Tell us about the study, Dr. Des.
This study really goes into the power of prevention at scale. So the link between functional mushrooms and thyroid health is not just theoretical. It's backed by one of the strongest human data sets available. So the study was a large prospective cohort study, and they had 6,631 participants. So that's not a small number. And their focus was looking at edible mushrooms and subclinical thyroid dysfunction. So what that means is these individuals have subclinical hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism where it's suspected, but it hasn't officially been confirmed with lab work. And there are many people, I see many people in practice who have subclinical thyroid conditions, subclinical thyroid dysfunction. And the strongest evidence points to mushrooms as a powerful preventative shield.
It sure does. Do you want to know how powerful?
Yeah, give it to us.
Giving it to you. Oh my gosh, a 70% lower risk of thyroid decline by eating mushrooms 4 times per week. That's it. Put mushrooms on your plate. I say it all the time. Eating mushrooms just 4 times a week results in a 70% lower risk of developing subclinical hypothyroidism. That
Wild.
blows my mind. This is just such a simple thing to do to give us this preventative medicine. So if you're somebody who's already dealing with hyper or hypothyroid issues, it doesn't mean don't do this. It means this might be something you can add to what you're doing and see what happens. But for all of you out there going, okay, but I don't have thyroid issues, I guarantee you know someone who does. And if you don't want to end up there, this is what I'm doing to be preventative. I'm one of those people. I don't have thyroid issues. Is it because I eat a crap ton of mushrooms? They've been in my diet forever, really. And then now in the last 5-6 years, I've really concentrated how much because I'm including concentrated extracts as well. And I did a little bit of looking into, we're eating mushrooms as food, and we know that there's this selenium there that can be this missing piece. But if I'm taking a mushroom supplement and it's a high quality supplement, it's so important that the mushrooms used to make the supplement were grown on wood, because that's going to be the precursor that's going to put the selenium inside the mushroom before we get it. So this is such a good place to talk about quality. If you don't want to eat mushrooms 4 times a week and you'd rather just have the simplicity of taking a supplement, you have to buy something that comes the way Mother Nature built it. And shiitake mushrooms were the one I looked at specifically, and shiitake mushrooms grow on hardwood. And the hardwood has the precursors that build the selenium inside the mushroom, as well as hundreds of other beautiful things in there to come along together and give us this medicine. So mushrooms essentially reduce the workload on the thyroid, maintaining efficiency before the system fails. So I love preventative healthcare. And for me, mushrooms are my preventative thyroid healthcare. I love that study. And 6,000 people is not small. Awesome. Okay, where are we going next?
Okay, so now we're going into a different category of friendly fire. So this is when the body is attacking itself. So most thyroid dysfunction is actually an immune system dysfunction. So in conditions like Hashimoto's, the immune system becomes overactive and confused, mistakenly attacking the thyroid tissue. So the autoimmune thyroid conditions, Hashimoto's and Graves' disease. And so what's happening, your immune system is designed to protect you, but then you get these antibodies, which are the biological attackers that are there and actually wreaking havoc on the thyroid gland. So in conditions like Hashimoto's specifically, which is the autoimmune version of a hypothyroid picture. So remember, weight gain, tired all the time, sluggish, dry skin, the immune system fundamentally can just lose its sense of direction. So we can think of it, it's creating hyperactive attacker cells that mistake the body's own thyroid for a foreign invader, launching this relentless internal assault on the thyroid gland.
I think that's so many of the people that talk about thyroid. We have autoimmunity. We know we've talked about autoimmunity in so many different ways. If you didn't know that Hashimoto's and Graves' were autoimmune conditions, now you do. We have a couple of friends that are managing Hashimoto's and Graves' disease. And I have really good news to share, Dr. Des, because looking at this research, it's cordyceps mushrooms, which are such a favorite in our community, but I've never really, we don't really talk about them for thyroid. We talk about cordyceps for energy and endurance and stamina. We talk about it for libido and sexual health. We talk about it for lung health, for the respiratory system. You love it for asthma. And, old you who dealt with something that you did. Little Dr. Desiree had asthma and needed to treat it, and now you don't. So we've talked about cordyceps for so many things, and then here's just another thing it can do, because there was a clinical trial, and yes, it was a human clinical trial. Human patients with Hashimoto's and Graves' disease show that cordyceps doesn't just stimulate the immune system, it actually coming in as something that calms and trains the immune system to stop attacking. I think so many times people think of cordyceps as this stimulating, but it
Mhm.
is still, all mushrooms are immunomodulators. And that's exactly what we see here, where it's coming in to calm and then retrain the immune system to stop doing this attacking that's so unnecessary. And the clinical trial, again, it wasn't a small clinical trial. And this just, I love it. The clinical trial showed cordyceps reduces the thyroid attackers, those antibodies, up to 51%. This is matching or beating conventional meds in some groups. So the conventional medications that are being prescribed are often not getting to that 50% efficacy mark. But a mushroom, just little old cordyceps, is doing a job that well. Mother Nature's trying to help us out here. So if friendly fire, your immune system is attacking itself, is the issue, then cordyceps mushrooms would be the one for you. And cordyceps isn't something we're eating regularly. I mean, I have seen some restaurants in San Francisco use cordyceps in place of pasta, kind of this stringy orange mushroom. But in general, you're going to consume cordyceps as an extract. It's going to come from Cordyceps militaris, which is being harvested from what it's grown on and then ground, extracted, and concentrated down into a powdered form. And for us, we're taking that in a capsule. And that's what was used in this study that we looked at. And a 51% drop in those antibodies made me very excited for cordyceps as another heavy mushroom hitter. All
Mm.
right. Third
Okay.
problem, give it to us.
Yeah, the third potential problem is that there is this internal fire. So even when the immune attacks are suppressed, the thyroid tissue can be left severely inflamed. This chronic internal fire can damage the delicate cellular machinery and leaving the organ hot, exhausted, and incapable of functioning smoothly. So there's a lot of inflammation, this internal fire piece.
And I think that's so much what's happening in so many disease states. We might address the problem. We get down to the root cause, we figure it out, and we think we've dealt with it. But even when we have, dealt with the main part of the problem, there's so often inflammation left behind. And we know that inflammation anywhere in the body is the body trying to talk to us and looking for more help. And in this case, lion's mane would be the mushroom to come in as that kind of cooling mushroom. So lion's mane operates as this kind of intelligent cooling system for the damaged tissue. And that's because of the way it activates specific immune regulating components called dendritic cells. So we're consuming the lion's mane. It is activating dendritic cells, and this is dropping kind of a biological cooling blanket over that organ, over that thyroid, deeply lowering the tissue inflammation so that the thyroid can get the rest that it needs, so that it can start to recover and then it can start to resume the normal output that we want it to have so that we can get the system working again. So I love lion's mane for inflammation, not just of the thyroid, but I love it for inflammation of the brain and inflammation of so many things that we see it being effective for. But when I looked, we do see research where it is showing use as an anti-inflammatory for thyroid. So it would be one that I would almost use in conjunction or after we've addressed it with something else along the way. And then there was one study that I'm going to ask you to talk to us about how reishi could be used in this case too, Dr. Does. Tell us about our friend herbal yoga.
Reishi. So the biggest thing with this study is it was looking at the levels of Th1 and Th2, as well as Th17 and T regulatory responses. So specific autoimmune conditions have specific patterns between the levels of Th1 versus Th2 and Th17 versus Treg responses. And they were looking at the polysaccharides in reishi specifically. And to suppress autoimmunity, you want to have an abundance of these T regulatory cells and you want a lower amount of these Th17. And that's exactly what reishi expressed in a 2018 study, is that it helped to modulate, aka balance, these cells. And that's where sometimes the confusion comes with functional mushrooms. And we've talked about this in many different ways and many different conditions and symptoms and things, is that functional mushrooms are going in to help modulate things and bring things back into balance. So that was really the biggest piece with reishi. And part of that is because it is the truest of adaptogens. Brandi calls it herbal yoga. And adaptogens for the thyroid are so important. Reishi is a brilliant adaptogen. That's an essential function of reishi, is its adaptogenic ability and stress reducing effect. There's a reason why when you take reishi, it is calming, not only for the mind, but for your body. There is just this zen, calm contentness that you feel within your body. And so dysfunctions of the immune system can underlie the development of autoimmune thyroid diseases, as well as environmental and genetic factors being at play. And these high stress levels can predispose us to the development of Hashimoto's thyroiditis or Graves' disease. And reishi is a well recognized adaptogen. And this highlights exactly what Brandi said earlier in this podcast, is that stress is the root cause for so much dysfunction and disease, or some people say dis-ease. And
Mm-hmm.
reishi really bringing us back into balance, modulating those. So this paper, I loved how it demonstrated that reishi can help balance these numbers and recognize these patterns, but bring people back into homeostasis where they may be asymptomatic for their
Yeah.
thyroid condition.
I mean, we see that high stress levels predispose us. And I think people know, they would think they would know if they were living in high stress. But chronic stress has been so normalized in our
Yeah.
society that I think people, I was one of them, just don't have an awareness of their actual physiological stress level. They think if their mind isn't, as stressed as they've ever been, that their body isn't either. But if the body is experiencing stress levels over a period of time, and this is predisposing you to the development of these things, reishi is another incredible preventative tool to put in place. And I know intuitively, I take the same mushrooms, pretty on routine if Dr. Desiree has her way. And depending on the season, I will be cyclically switching things up here and there. But intuitively, as soon as I can sense that there's going to be some stress in my world, a family member is not well, something, even, going on vacation when I know there might be jet lag, or there's going to be some kind of either mental, emotional, or physical stress going on, I start taking more reishi. Intuitively, I'll take it in the morning instead of just in the evening. I'll take 2 in the evening instead of just 1. I'm always taking it with my magnesium in the evening. And this is a time for me right now. This week has been one of those weeks, and I've run out of reishi actually, because it you feel that. You feel this. What you're describing is happening in this study. You feel this adaptogenic, stress reducing effect when you get reishi on board. So I love that it can be another helper for people with thyroid health concerns. So really what we're saying to you then is there are 2 paths forward. If you are someone that is concerned about, or you love someone who's dealing with thyroid issues, there's the conventional path. And this path is essentially a refilling of the tank path. This is a synthetic hormone replacement. They're just going to give you the hormone that you're not creating on your own, and away you go. And for the immune focus part of it, this completely ignores the immune system. We are not, when we just give someone a synthetic hormone, we are ignoring the immune system exists entirely, because we're not addressing that the immune system is upset and it's doing something that is misfiring. And the result is that we hide the underlying problem when we do this. We are not finding and addressing the root cause. We are managing symptoms temporarily in this case, and that's okay for a time while we're figuring things out. And maybe it's that if you're someone who's listening to this and going, but I'm not going to stop because it's working so well, I hear you. I hear you. I took a pharmaceutical drug for over 10 years because it worked so well. And it wasn't, I stopped one day. I had to slowly transfer things and change my lifestyle. I had to change my diet. I had to change everything I was doing if I wanted to try to use things that are being provided by nature. It's not going to happen in a day or a week or even a month. But what would the mushroom path look like then? The mushroom path method is really fixing that engine. And we're not asking for rocket science here. We're just looking at nutrient activation via selenium, whether that's coming to you from putting mushrooms on your plate 4 times a week. 6,000 people did it and showed that 70% lower risk of getting a thyroid health problem in the first place. So I love that method. It's just get your nutrients in. And the immune focus, calming and regulating that immune system with something like cordyceps, in this case, specific to the thyroid, such an easy thing to do. And the result, we're healing the terrain. We're fixing that soil, the root cause there, and supporting this root cause restoration with mushrooms. So the conventional path, the mushroom path, it's up to you, but you know what I'm going to do every single time. So really, I'm loving to think of mushrooms these days as this intelligent biological toolkit. And I'm so grateful to have them on my shelf. Functional mushrooms aren't just food or generic supplements to me. They are highly specific biological tools, each evolved with unique compounds capable of fixing the root causes of not only thyroid dysfunction, but so many other things that are just imbalances in the body. And with that, I'm going to leave the last word to you, Dr. Desiree, to just inspire us with a wrap-up piece about thyroid health and mushrooms for us.
Mm-hmm. Support the terrain and you restore the system. Autoimmune disease and thyroid dysfunction are systemic problems. They are not just isolated gland issues. And functional mushrooms don't force the thyroid to work. They nourish the environment, allowing your body to heal itself and work better from the root up. And there's two little things that I want to add. One is, we've been seeing on TikTok, there's this trend where people are saying, what doesn't kill you in your 20s shows up as an autoimmune disease later.
Yeah.
And that relates back to the stress piece, right? It relates back to stress and how can we tune into ourselves and have that awareness to rebuild ourselves and to regulate ourselves. And, you can't just keep going in a high stress environment. At some point, your body will respond by giving you some data and trying to communicate with you. And for some people, it's the thyroid. And then the other thing that I want to leave you with, just as some food for thought, and maybe it doesn't apply for you, but if you do have a thyroid diagnosis or subclinical a thyroid condition and you resonate with some of these symptoms, I'm just wondering, ponder and contemplate whether you are somebody who doesn't speak their truth, right? There's the energy, the gland is around the throat. So
Yeah.
if we look at it from a deeper layer, are you somebody who doesn't speak their truth or show up as your authentic self, no matter what that means? And just ponder, is that something that you do throughout the day? And are you showing up as that person? And is that what your body is trying to tell you to look inwards? So some food for thought.
Wow. I'm taking a deep breath on that one. So true that we are energy. We are just condensed energy. And the throat energy center can really be felt. I mean, tell me that you haven't experienced feeling like you've got, a lump in your throat. We've all said that, like, I've got a lump in my throat. And that is literally where your thyroid is sitting. If the energy there is experiencing something, is it because there's something you need to say? There's something you need to say differently. There's a way that you want to express yourself but haven't taken the step yet. And I love that way to end it. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time. So much love for the thyroid out there. It's not in your thigh. Throw out your green spray paint. Stop spray painting the dead plants in your house. It's time to patch that hole in the bucket properly instead of just filling it up with things that aren't addressing the root cause, as we always say. We sure hope that you learned something new here today. We hope we made you giggle because this stuff can be dry, but we do love the research. And I love it when we can bring it in a way that allows you to tell whoever's saying to you, mushrooms, there's no research around that. They don't know anything. You can say, actually, there is. And here today, we gave you some of those things. So as usual, please leave us a comment down below. Let us know what you thought. Drop us a question and follow us here wherever you're listening to the podcast. It helps us get this information out to more people who need it. If you know someone who needed this today, I know which friends I'm sending it to. Send it to them. Send it to them with love and say, just another way to look at it, another thing to consider. It never hurts to learn more. And with that, we will leave you for this episode, and we will be so excited to see you back here next time on the Eversio Experience.
Be well, everyone.
Be well. We hope that you learned something new here today. If anyone you know could benefit from what we shared in this episode, please share it with them. And if you're interested in adding mushrooms to your life, then you can use code PODCAST15 to save 15% on your entire order at EversioWellness.com.
If you haven't yet left us a rating and review, subscribed to this podcast, or followed our social media accounts listed in the show notes, we would so appreciate that. And if you're not sure where to start, you can take our Mushroom Wellness Quiz. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with us. Until next time, be well.